Okay, welcome back, everybody. It has been a little while since we have done a podcast, but we got a couple special guests. And without further ado, we're just going to jump right in. First one we have on here is Mr. Selenia himself. I got Arthur. How you doing, man?
Oh, not too bad. How are you doing?
I am okay. So you thinking about keeping that Selenia moniker for another season?
Yeah, because I'm just too lazy to change it. I always talk about different names. Like, I was going to make it Sperm Spaceship, but
Yeah. All right.
ran
Well,
out of time.
we did just have the draft. Everything is now in Yahoo, and if you haven't had a chance, definitely recommend jumping on and throwing your team in the roster spots. Looks like most teams have so far, and we're just going to kind of jump right on into some of these projections. Based on draft day projections, Yahoo has the league set to finish first place Flaming Moe's, second place Clunge Plunger, and third Sea Chicken Chokers round out those top three based on the draft day projections. Unfortunately, Mr. Arthur, part of the reason I had you on here, and Tanner will be on here shortly, you're projected at number 10. So what the hell happened in the draft, man?
Well, honestly, went in blind, and I'll come out somewhere in the middle.
You did that last year, though, too, didn't you? You, as I
Yeah.
recall, you went in blind completely, and then you were riding high for most of the season.
Yeah, but pretty much every week that my team just did mediocre and stayed consistent, where all the teams that were versing me at the time somehow had a very shitty week.
Yeah,
So it was
sure.
a luck of the draw.
It happens, and I mean, based on just kind of strength of schedule and that sort of thing, I mean, it always comes down to whatever. Your team just isn't projected to score very much, but yeah, I mean, like you said, it just kind of depends on that luck of the draw. So looking at the first week matchups, you're going against Clunge Plunger, and he has one of the more solid looking teams based on draft, but before we get into those matchups, really I want to talk about just kind of draft results. I mean, how do you think everything went? I mean, you went in blind. I know Cass seemed a little blind, kind of following behind Tanner, but he obviously drafted better than Tanner. I mean, are there any teams that really stand out to you, or how do you think the season's going to go?
Honestly, I think you have one of the best setup teams. You have three of the best backs in the league. I think you might actually be able to make a dynasty this year.
Yeah, well, that would be fantastic.
Because honestly, you really didn't have to draft very well or very bad, so your core is solid.
Yeah.
Going to be a very tough one to beat.
Sure. One of the biggest turnarounds, I think, looking over some of these rosters was Cass's team. Have you seen how stacked his squad is?
Honestly, I'm looking at it now.
I mean, he's got Wilson, Moore, Ingram, Woods. I mean, obviously, Kelsey, he traded in the offseason. DJ Chark. I mean, in his bench, even Matt Ryan. And, I mean, Michael Pittman is projected to do okay. And then, obviously, the 0 pick. I mean, he's stacked, looking to come back strong.
Honestly, he would be the team to watch, but
Yeah.
pretty much we got to watch for injuries, and now with COVID and everything, these star players could easily fall out.
Sure. And, I mean,
Blink of an eye, so it's just literally I think it's going to be a waiver wire season.
yeah, it generally does come down to that, especially since we have so many people snaking it and we're all pretty active, which is nice. But on the other side of it, a bloody puddle. I think he drafted pretty well personally, but that's neither here nor there. I mean, outside of Sea Chicken Chokers and my squad you mentioned, what other? I mean, do you like your squad at least? How do you feel like you will fare?
Honestly, I do not think this is going to be a champion run for me.
Okay.
It's just going to be a lot of trying to build up or hit those young players that will rise in the ranks.
Yeah.
So,
Just a building year, kind of.
yeah, honestly, but I don't think I'll be in last.
Sure.
I think I'll be close to last.
Just sticking out of that toilet bowl. That's just what matters. But let me dive into your team a little bit here. Obviously, you were one of the only teams, I think you were the only team to keep it a defense.
Yep.
And outside of that, I mean, you seemed pretty well rounded. A couple wide receivers. We'll see how Hopkins does in Arizona, but obviously Sutton and then Lindsey, Carson, Howard. Obviously, hoping that guys like Metcalf and Allen stay healthy. Outside of that, I mean, you again, it's the not sexy names, but they all have that potential.
Exactly, and even with AJ Dillon, picking him up, the way Green Bay turns over running backs, like he might have a shot by mid-season.
Yeah.
So even if one of these players starts to underperform and I drop him, I might be able to activate him.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about that like Brady Gronk stack that you have. I know you also have Josh Allen. Do you really think that Brady Gronk stack is going to pay out, or is that just kind of one of those gambles you had to take?
It was definitely a gamble I had to take because a lot of my players are on the same team, which is going to kill me. But because if they hit that connection again and they actually are back in sync like they would be in New England, I think even with Fournette now being in the mix with them.
Yeah. No, that absolutely makes sense. And I mean, couple Tampa Bay. I do see you have a couple Denver, Arizona, Chicago. Yeah, man. I think you'll do fine. Let's jump on over to Boomer Busters, though. I like the way his draft kind of came together. Obviously, though, if you have that Pat Mahomes sitting there at top, I mean, you're kind of pretty well squared away outside of those injuries, right?
Pretty much. And now also having Devontae Adams, too. Another guaranteed high performer just due to the inexperience of the new receivers they have coming in.
Sure. What I'm actually going to go ahead and do is the other day I had put together just kind of the red shirts, and so I don't know if you have access to your email, but I'm actually going to forward you the list of red shirts just so you can kind of look at them just to see. I want your opinion on some of these guys. Obviously, every season when most of us are picking them, we just kind of do a shot in the dark and hope something pans out. But I want your opinion on, say, the likes of both Haley and Eli went quarterback. A lot of people kind of went that wide receiver route, though. It takes a little bit for most wide receivers and tight ends to kind of come into their own in the league. But of these guys that we're looking at, I mean, Rager, Pittman.
Mine's a running back.
Yours is a running back. Yeah, Deshaun's is a wide receiver. Haley's is a quarterback. Mine's a wide receiver. Of these, who do you think is going to make it out? Who of them are going to be actually activated? I know that's generally the struggle. Are you going to activate them halfway through the season, or just wait and see what happens into next year?
Honestly, I think the one to watch would be Justin Jefferson.
Yeah, with Deshaun, I know his squad was a little wide receiver heavy, but I mean, if he can get that balance, obviously, who knows
that,
how.
Or you can even use it as trade bait eventually. Because, yeah, he's stacked on receivers. And then if he's struggling for something mid-season,
sure,
he has a lot of flexibility with that.
Yeah. What about like CeeDee Lamb? I know Dallas is kind of one of those outside of Dak and Elliott. I mean, there's not really ever a lot because that's kind of hit or miss everywhere else. What about CeeDee Lamb? I've heard a lot of things about him. What do you think Hayden's going to do with that?
The thing about Dallas receivers in general, though, typically they're one target, one game. It's just one receiver is hot. There's never a consistency throughout the whole season.
Yeah. It's kind of that same way with, some of these other, I know Kansas City is like that. I think even Denver can be like that. Outside of those main, Michael Thomas, Tyreek Hill, that kind of caliber wide receiver, most of them are going to be kind of a crapshoot. But as I look through some of these other names, I do see that J.K. Dobbins for the Flaming Moes is also a running back. And as I think I heard Jalen Reagor for Sean's, he was injured already. That's kind of one of those perfect, not really perfect, but one of those situations where you can just kind of leave him on the bench and wait to activate. You don't have to really stress too much in the fact that I know last year with Deebo Samuel, that was kind of my problem. 1 week for San Francisco, he'd be excellent. And then the next week, he'd be like, well, should I activate him? He's kind of just that middle tier, not great. Whereas going into the season with an injury, you kind of have a little bit of time to just kind of watch him progress and figure out what's going on.
Well, obviously, then you're more likely to not activate, because if you already have a core strong as yours, why would you attempt to have to drop one of those players that have been successful in your rotation the whole year?
Sure. And that absolutely makes sense for, I mean, a lot of these wide receivers, like we said. What about Tua or Joe Burrow? I know Eli in one of the past podcasts was really on top of him and excited for that action. But what about Tua? How far into the season do you think it'll be before we actually see him start?
Honestly, I'm not sure on that one.
Yeah. I know Fitzmagic is down there right now, and he's kind of that starter, and it just depends on which Fitzmagic we see. But
exactly. So if Fitzmagic is perfect the first 6 games, you probably won't see him get activated at all.
Yeah. Well, and sometimes with those rookie quarterbacks, it does take them a while to kind of get acclimated to the speed of the NFL, whereas somebody like Joe Burrow is, I mean, he's just getting thrown in. And so how long, I know Eli wasn't super stoked with the Dak Prescott pick for his squad, but obviously you can't beat his kind of production. Joe Burrow might be one of the few that we actually see activated this season. How much of an impact do you think that's going to have on the rest of our fantasy options? Obviously, Tyler Boyd, A.J. Green, Joe Mixon, those are kind of the 3 big names in the Cincinnati offense that really are affected by a Joe Burrow boom or bust season.
The thing about it is, with rookies coming in, just starting off the bat, they either got to step up to the plate fast, and they actually aren't going to have an issue because they have that confidence already built up through the training camp and everything. But there'll be some that are thrown in, and then they're going to have horrible games, like Daniel Jones. When he first came out, he looked great the first game because he just knew it was his time to shine. And then the next week, he throws 3 or 4 interceptions. It was...
You know, speaking of Daniel Jones, I was actually going to bring him up because I wanted to kind of jump into his current rankings. Obviously, I'm not seeing him on anybody's team at the moment, but like yourself, you picked up Darius Slayton. Wide receiver for the Giants. There has been a lot of talk about Jones coming in to his own year 2. There is nobody like, Manning to kind of take over if everything goes to crap. I mean, it's his team now. I mean, how much of a jump do you think the Giants are going to see, obviously, with the moves they've made from this offseason?
There's so many variables coming into this new season because we have coaches like Justin Garrett, Freddie Kitchens, and our coach itself, Joe Judge. All of them are stepping into different roles. So I think it could either go really well based on how it goes, because I know Justin Garrett wanted Daniel Jones, took him under his wing and was going to build him up, because he did coach quarterbacks like Romo and even Dak Prescott a little bit. It just goes to show we don't necessarily know his ability until we actually see it in game.
Yeah. I mean, he has always been one of those offensive-minded coaches, and that's always been, that was, like you said, Dak and Romo, both higher, at least in my opinion, the fantasy value that would always go later in the rounds. Do you have any sort of Giants bias? I mean, I know you're a fan of theirs. Are you watch them in particular just for fantasy sake?
Oh, no, I watch the games myself. So, yeah, of course I will have a little bit of bias, but I'm also very critical. I know my team sucks. My expectations for the season, I'm going to watch first couple weeks, and if I don't see a brand new team out there that's disciplined, not ego-driven like we have been,
Sure.
I don't know. I think it could really go to shit. But Darius Slayton last year, he started to be targeted more. He started getting that confidence with quarterbacks.
Yeah.
That's why I picked him up, because if Daniel Jones comes out swinging, I knew that the depending on how the first week goes, I might not have a chance to have him.
Yeah, that makes sense, and that seems like it'll be a good kind of bench stash at least for now. I mean, especially with the way your team is set up, with some of like we said, Hopkins, Sutton, you do have that depth for fantasy. Talk to me a little bit about Evan Engram, though. One of the toughest spots to draft and keep on your team is generally tight end, and outside the top three, I mean, who knows what the hell will happen week to week? How much is Evan Engram going to, with again that second year Daniel Jones throwing to him, is it going to really jump up for us or no?
Honestly, I don't think so. Because Evan Engram, he's pretty much a slot receiver, not really a tight end. And after we picked up Barkley, it was just kind of a mismatch because we need like a Gronk or like a big tight end. Sorry, I'm drawing a blank, but not because we need to be able to run block for Saquon Barkley and stuff like that. So I think he's going to be used less and put into positions where his ankle injury is going to get worse.
Yeah.
So I didn't put too much stock into him this year.
Sure, that makes sense. I know he is on Chubbawamba, but let's kind of talk some of those other, other tight ends a little bit. Who is your tight end this year?
Mine, I have Gronk and Higbee.
Gronk and Higbee. Do you already have it? I haven't checked your roster in a little bit. Do you already have it set up to which one you're going to play?
Yeah, I'm playing Gronk week 1 because if Brady's trying to make a point and Gronk wants to back him, they're going to try to go for that publicity stunt of Gronk and Brady back at it again, shit like that.
Sure.
And you can't do that if you come out losing week 1.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
So I think he's guaranteed at least 1 or 2 garbage TDs.
What about some of these other guys? Do you think guys like Darren Waller, Mark Andrews, Zach Ertz, are they going to stay up there in that top tier, or are they going to drop back off like previous seasons?
I think Ertz might come out swinging, but other than that, the tight end position is always like, there's only like a top 3, and then everybody else is garbage time.
Yeah. So let's jump over positions. Outside those running backs, we've talked a little wide receiver. Who's your favorite quarterback overall? Obviously outside of Mahomes and Jackson, thank you. Outside of those two, I mean, do you think we're going to see anybody jump in? That's one of the most hotly contested positions when it comes to fantasy. No person who finished number 1 for fantasy has finished number 1 for fantasy the following season. It always jumps around, whether it's Drew Brees or Aaron Rodgers. Back when Peyton was in it, he would be there every other year, or Tom Brady. I mean, are we going to see Lamar take over that number 1 spot outside of Patrick Mahomes, or are we going to see somebody else jump in here?
No, just because those are still the 2 young and very mobile QBs of the game.
Mm-hmm.
I think maybe Russell Wilson might come out and attempt to reclaim that, but
yeah. Well, they do.
Other than that, I think at the QB standing, I think it's going to be exactly how it was ranked, pretty much.
Yeah, nothing from Dak Prescott or like Deshaun Watson, nothing like that. What about Kyler Murray?
Kyler Murray, I know he has another weapon of Hopkins this year, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to confuse you. So, with having a veteran receiver, I think he might be able to further develop his ability over the training season, but it's still uncertain, the chemistry and the consistency of Kyler Murray.
Yeah. I mean, we'll see how that one goes, but we are going to switch gears now. We are going to look at some of these matchups going into week 1. We do have Dark Knights versus a Bloody Puddle, Boomer Busters versus Bear Down for Balls Deep, Chubbawamba, Steel Dynasty, Clunge Plunger versus Solania, and Sea Chicken Chokers versus Flaming Moes. Couple matchups right off the bat. 2 of the higher projected this season is Flaming Moes versus Sea Chicken Chokers, and then right in that middle tier, right in that middle tier, Chubbawamba versus Steel Dynasty. Outside of those that are going to hopefully be closer, are we going to really see any upsets going into week 1? Any change of power from this last season?
I think Deshaun's team might jump back up. That's the only difference I see. I think the Bloody Puddle will stay bloody. And Cass might have a jump up as well.
Yeah. Because
as we look, his team is ridiculously stacked.
Yeah, absolutely. What about, I mean, it is, like you said, a Bloody Puddle. Tanner is down there too. So I do agree Deshaun's going to be solid again. What about Clunge Plunger? Let's talk Hayden a little bit. He is kind of that wild card. I've played in leagues with him before, but most of you I don't think have. How do you think he's going to fare in this overly competitive league when it comes to waiver wires?
I think he will have to figure it out. It is the most heinous thing if you forget Monday night to look. Wednesday, they're gone.
Yeah.
Everybody you wanted, it's vicious.
It is. I mean, and I think that's one of my favorite parts of it, even though it's so frustrating when you're hoping for that one guy, because whether you had that injury or you're ready to make some moves, you know there are at least 6 other people eyeballing the same person. And on the one hand, if that person doesn't pan out, it's great. But on the other hand, you're really hoping for that depth to be able to come in and, you know.
And the worst is when there's 2 players that come out hot and you need both of those slots filled. And you try to go for both and you lose them both.
You get neither.
Yeah.
So it will be a kind of a trial by fire for him. So we'll see how that one goes.
Yeah, he'll figure it out. You got to have pretty much 11 options.
Yeah.
Going into waiver wire day.
All right. So last thing I do kind of want to touch base with you is obviously Yahoo's rankings are always all kinds of craziness. They're always all over the place. But based on how last season finished, there were the 6 of us who made the playoffs, the 4 in the bottom. Outside of Cass, hopefully making that turnaround, who do you predict finishing top 3 that isn't the one that we think about right now, and who do you think is going to be in that bottom toilet bowl that might be a little bit of a shock to some of us?
I think, honestly, I'll probably be in the bottom 3 with Bloody Puddle and, sorry, Tanner, you will be in there with me.
Okay. Who's that 4th one? Because there's 4 in the bottom vying to stay out of that toilet bowl. Who do you think the 4th one's going to be?
Honestly, Hayden.
Hayden? Okay.
Yeah, I think he'll get hit with injuries, and then the waiver wire will get the best of him.
So, juxtaposing it with last season, that's pretty much the same. Obviously, Hayden's taking over for Flying Dutchman, who was in the bottom with Bloody Puddle, and Bear Down for Balls Deep with the new name. But Cass was the one, obviously, coming in last year, so it's pretty much just a switch between you and him, is what you're thinking.
Yeah, he's going to be in the top 3. You will be, and I think Zach.
Yeah, vying for those final 3. I mean, outside of any crazy injury, obviously, you know, it's a strong possibility at this point based on current projections, but we'll see how that one goes. As we do look to wrap this up, and we're going to get Tanner on here shortly, and we're going to go through those power rankings. Is there anything that you want to say, be the first one to kind of take that shot for trash talking, or anything that you want to say to anyone?
Not really.
No, you just kind of, hey, it's the beginning of the season. We'll see how it goes. Don't want to take a shot.
No, I'll do it halfway through. All right. I know where I'm at.
Okay, sir. Sounds good. Well, I appreciate you chatting with me here, and we will hopefully have you on here once these first couple games get going, and we'll go from there.
Awesome. Thank you for your time.
Awesome. Thank you so much, sir. All right. Now on, we do have Tanner. Tanner, how you doing?
Hey, that's me. I'm doing all right.
Okay. Well,
it's like we already did the small talk, so like
yeah. Well, the reason I actually had you and Arthur on here was because based on the draft day projections, Arthur was ranked in at 10th, you're right there at 9th. And Arthur and I kind of talked.
Oh, I wasn't 10th?
No, you were 9th. He was 10th. But I did want to ask, based on the draft and kind of looking how even your dad had some moments where it was like, wait, what the hell just happened? I do have to ask, were you actually trying to tank their drafts, or do you just suck at drafting that bad?
Well, explain to me how I drafted so bad, but that isn't based off metrics of shitty Yahoo.
I mean, just look at your team, man. It's not like they're,
Have any faith in Melly?
no.
Well, there you go. I have more faith in him than Leonard Fournette or, well, Todd Gurley wasn't even. I got more faith in him than Todd Gurley.
Yeah. Well, looking
So
at.
I mean, go ahead and pick it apart, but you got to give me something here. What was a bad call? I mean, you throw this down. Well, go ahead, give me what I fuck up on. Let's hear it.
Well, wait. I mean, you have Aaron Rodgers. When was the last time he was a top 5 quarterback? Or Mike Evans?
Dude, all right, want to get into Aaron Rodgers? I could talk about that one. That's the easy one. Dude, this is 14 Brady all over again. He's on the way out, kind of last of his contract year. Not a good year before. Hasn't looked good for a little while. He's going to either prove it or say bye-bye. It's one or the other, and I'm banking on that he's going to prove it. But it could really go the other way.
It could very much go the other way. And you don't even have a backup quarterback. That's how much faith you have that Rodgers is going to do something amazing.
Well, unlike you, I don't feel like carrying 2 very injury-prone quarterbacks. So,
yeah, if you're going for the boom or bust, you got to get that hope for a boom in there, right? Let's go on down to.
Well, I'd rather boom or bust with 1 quarterback taking up space than 2. But yeah, you do you.
That's all right. It's because you have Murray on your bench there. Yeah, is that why you needed space,
Dude? If Kamara goes down again,
yeah, because did you
easy
hear
20 points a week?
He had a outside of his knee issues from last year. Then he got an epidural like a week ago.
Mm-hmm. Right, like every fucking running back hasn't gotten one in preseason every year.
This is the first I've heard about it. I didn't realize he was pregnant, though.
Let's hope he doesn't run pregnant. Or maybe he really wants to protect that.
All right. Well, so
now,
then...
you want to go into my team as a whole? Because my team as a whole is a big question mark. I was making a joke with Zach that it doesn't going into a season that my most sure thing player is a second-year wide of fucking Washington no-names.
Yeah, that's a pretty accurate assessment, though. Outside of your crap team, though, let's talk draft real quick before we jump into the next spot here.
Okay.
Talk to me. What happened? What do you think went well? What do you think did not go well? I mean, I already addressed it with Arthur. I think Eli drafted pretty well for the first time ever, but outside of that,
not according to Eli.
Yeah, well, dumbass.
Yeah, we don't listen to that. So anyway.
Talk to me about Hayden. How do you think he did versus somebody? I mean, Arthur is always just kind of shot in the dark, shooting from the hip. But
sure. Yeah, I mean, Hayden did fine. He was already handed a solid team. He already had some solid wide receivers, so he was just playing for need. And he pretty well picked it up. There are a few of them like Keyshawn Vaughn and Rashad Penny that I probably wouldn't have touched, but yeah, they could do it. I like Zach Moss. I feel like give it a few weeks, he'll be playing quite a bit. Yeah, he did fine. I really, with what he had, I don't really have a lot of complaints. I mean, he reached early for the 49ers, but he probably had to if he wanted to get him. He probably could have waited one more round, but even then, who was he going to get? So
sure.
So no, I think Hayden did fine. Really, Tevin Coleman especially, I think, is looking more and more likely that he's going to be getting some playing time here at the beginning of the season. So even he might be a good flex here.
Yeah.
So no, I can't really get Hayden on too much. I mean, he went a little early for Justin Tucker, but but I've reached early for kickers too. So
yeah, you should never reach early for a damn kicker. Last round every time, guys. Come on.
Well, and he was complaining because he was like, God, I'm looking like such an idiot because I kept Hooper. And I was like, I gotta be honest, man. I probably would have done the same thing, so I can't really give you that much shit.
Yeah, no, it makes sense, especially with that like wealth of wide receiver that he has. Why he ended up picking up somebody like Deebo Samuel on top of the dudes that he already has, like, I don't know, but
well, they definitely seemed like he was drunk and just grabbing at that point. But yeah, it was interesting. It's whatever. They're all bottom tier down there anyway, so it's like whatever. They're all crapshoots.
Yeah, who wasn't drunk and just grabbing at that point? But
I'm always grabbing. Now, as for Arthur, yeah, his didn't look as good. I mean, his first pick wasn't bad. I mean, grab Metcalf. That's the problem is with Arthur's team is he needed everything.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, well, he's drafting for need. Well, he needs a little everything. So
I feel
he
like
kind of got it. But
I feel like
I
you
don't
can't
know.
even use the argument for like DK Metcalf though. Like,
Yeah,
especially after our 6 keepers, it's kind of like you're already in those middle rounds where it's just like everybody's taking flyers anyway. So in that first round, if you're one of the first people to pick someone, if you don't pick like the one sure thing on the board, like you're screwing over the rest of your draft regardless.
sure. Well, especially when you're starting to shake as he already was. Yeah, no argument. That's true. He got Josh Allen though. He'll get him points. I think Gronk was a hilariously random pick. Darius Slayton, okay. Rams will probably be good, but I don't know he went so early. AJ Dillon was actually the rookie I wanted, but I ended up that was a big mistake. I went early for Swift after Deshaun and I already had a whole conversation about never grabbing rookies on that team, but I did it anyway. I did the same thing with Kerryon Johnson, so but Arthur's was Arthur, and now watch, he'll get fucking like third place.
Well, I mean, like you said, if those Yahoo rankings are actually off, I mean, he even
I never go off those.
He even projected himself to be battling to stay out of the toilet bowl this year. He does not look forward to this season very much.
Well, he's definitely a contender for the toilet bowl. So,
Yeah.
and I may be right there with him. So we'll see what happens.
That's
But
kind of-
I do want to address one thing.
What?
Seems like people seem to think I got screwed over in this T.Y. Hilton Leonard Fournette trade. Where is all this T.Y. Hilton love suddenly coming from?
tell me.
I mean, his
Okay.
quarterback move was lateral at best. He's been on the downward hill. He's been injured a lot. Everyone's like, oh, but I love T.Y. It's like, okay, well, I bet Leonard Fournette in the long run is going to give me more points, but whatever, if you want him.
Maybe, but tell me why this trade is. I mean, outside of your needs as a team, like why is it good though? If you have a sure thing in Ty being, I mean, back
not a
end
sure
wide
thing.
receiver one.
Yeah, so? And I already have 2 wide receiver ones. I don't care. What am I going to play him in my flex? I'd rather have Fournette
Sure.
in my flex.
That seems iffy to me, especially when he's
Sure.
splitting with Rojo and like, I mean, the noodle arm of Tom Brady. Come on, man.
Exactly. You just explained exactly why he'll be the starter and pounding that fucking D-line over and over again. What are you talking about? You just made an argument for me.
No, I don't.
He's playing with nothing but a bunch of has-beens and never was's. That's the only thing that's in my favor on this. Now, you never know. Rojo could go off, and I'm screwed. But obviously, I made the trade before this happened. But
Yeah.
and that was just it. At that point, I had to stick with it. I'm not going to go back on a trade. But yeah, obviously, this trade, to be clear to everyone, was made at the draft, and I just stuck with it. But yeah.
It was. I mean, you could have feigned like drunkenness or just stupidity.
Well,
but
apparently
you
no one
felt-
heard it. I thought there were a bunch of witnesses, but everyone's like, "Oh, what you did that?" And it's like, well, I guess I could have gotten away with it, but whatever.
Yeah, no, I heard it, so you're screwed. But hey, maybe it'll pan out for you. I mean, it did just kind of finish out your dad's team, which talk to me about that. He is projected as of today with current projections. If everything goes as is, he's projected at 2.
Yeah, he's not going to get 2. You know, I don't even know why you're listening to Yahoo, but no, he is definitely one of the stronger teams. He's got a lot of solid people there. I don't have as much faith in DJ Moore. I don't think he's going to get a whole lot of production just because of cute quarterback play. Same with Robert Wood. Well, Robert Woods could really go either way, but he's got some really strong ones. Obviously, Russell Wilson's going to get him points.
Mm-hmm.
What's your feeling on Mark Ingram? I'm curious this year.
Let me actually jump over to his team. I was looking at some projections we'll get to in a second. But, I mean, I like Baltimore. They were my Super Bowl pick, so I am going to say that they are going to be solid. I feel like...
Oh, that's right. I haven't given you shit about Hollywood Brown yet. We'll get back to that.
Giving me shit about it. Come on, man.
Yep.
That's going to be the
Oh,
number
we'll
one
get to it.
offense.
We'll get to it. Yeah,
But-
that passed less than anyone else in the league by a wide margin.
They did, but if you get the design...
Fewest passes per game last season by a large margin. Literally, I think he averaged 5 receptions other than that first game. He
What if-
went over 5 receptions. Now, even if he gets 9,
Okay, we're going
I
to jump...
still
we're
don't
gonna-
see him being a
We're going to jump to
wide
that one in a
receiver
second. We're going to stick with Mark Ingram here for a second. Because
Okay,
the thing I feel like happened at the end of last season is the Titans were really the ones. They were the ones that stopped him in the playoffs. They were the ones that even on the board, I want to say it was Roma was talking about how all of the designed runs for Lamar Jackson were over to the left hand side.
Yeah,
And-
right.
And he would always just kind of flow off to that side. And if you stack the box on that side, he didn't really know what to do. Now that's going to force him to mature as a passer, which is great for Hollywood. But Mark Ingram, I feel like it's just going to be those. He's going to have those guaranteed points because you have to have the ground and pound at some point in the game, or else the passing game doesn't work. And so I am rooting for Mark Ingram to let Hollywood go off.
Fair enough. I think Ingram is more likely to go off than Hollywood Brown, but we'll see. Now, but the thing about Ingram, though, I do think is an interesting one because I've always liked him because he was a Saint for so many years. And he's one of those players that he constantly gets counted out, and then he's a monster. So I wouldn't count him out by any means. I do think it's just a matter of how much longer can he keep doing it. And we'll see. I think this season will really say if he's a Frank Gore, he's just going to last forever, or if he may be ending here before too long.
Sure. But all right, before we jump into our next segment, I did just want to point out something. You're asking why I look at the projections and that sort of thing. Is because the thing that I do keep an eye on is just, I mean, obviously your projected points, and you're not necessarily going to hit that, but it'll give you a fairly good idea of what you're capable of. And we're about to get into some power rankings, but if you're looking at just projected points scored, top tier this year looks to be Flaming Moe's 2,100 points, Sea Chicken Chokers at 2,000, Dark Knights at 1,975. Now we're going to juxtapose that against, say, Bears Down for Balls Deep, down at 1,789, and Arthur, Mr. Solenia himself, is even 130 lower than A Bloody Puddle at 1,677 projected points. That's over 400 away from Zach. Like, I mean, that's straight up trash. But again, you said projections or whatever, but if you're just kind of
Yeah, they're all fake numbers. That's great, but they're all fake numbers. But sure. I mean, yeah, it could end that way. You're right. I think you're much more likely to win than the other two, but we'll see.
We'll see. I mean, I think that both your dad and Zach are a little more well-rounded as a team, but...
Yeah, but it's one of those you don't need to be almost. It's like, yeah, honestly, I think your biggest question marks are your quarterback play because they could really go either way. They could be great or, those are, I think, what are scarier.
Sure. And they are both gambles. I do admit that both of them throughout the draft where I was like, okay, how far are they going to fall? Who can I get? I really did want Dak, but I obviously had to draft him for Eli. Stupid putz.
Yeah, and then he still bitches about it. But yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't want that top 5 quarterback. Top 3 maybe. Who knows?
Anyways. All right. So we are going to jump into the next spot, which I do need to bring up. Have you done your pick'em yet?
Yes.
You did your pick'em, and I think the other person that I saw had done it was Sean. Everybody else, if you have not done so, Sean still has the shoe. We need to take that from him. Someone needs to dethrone him and get that shoe.
I want my shoe back.
Yeah, it's never going to happen, man. I'm talking to everyone else. Everyone else in this situation.
Stick to your Yahoo projections, bitch.
All right. The other thing that we do have going again this year is the League of Shadows Survival. We did it last year, and I think Zach was finally kicked out at about week 7. We'll see if anybody can beat him. And if somebody can make it all the way through the season, we'll have to do something special for him. But each week you get to pick one team to win. If that team wins, you progress. If you do not get it right, you do not. The only caveat is obviously you can only pick that team one time. So if you pick Kansas City week 1, you cannot pick them the rest of the season. So that link will be included in the email, so everybody go ahead and take care of that. But now, Tanner, big thing that we're actually going to do this week. It's the first time that we've ever done it. I had an email sent to me. Writer is anonymous, for those of you listening in. And what this person did was they said they didn't like the trash talk from last year, and they thought that Haley taking it with the Tywin Lannister award, though the Dutch oven was kind of funny.
It was her one thing.
It was the one thing, and that says a lot for the rest of you and how terrible it is. Anyways, this author decided that we needed to up it, and so anonymously...
Then they can't go anonymous.
Oh, it will be. It'll make it better. But anonymously, they're submitting power rankings. That way there's no, whoever it is, whatever. Anyway, so we're just going to jump into that one, all right? They do have a little blurb for each of them. So we're going to start with 1, go down to 10, and I'm going to just kind of read their little thing for you. If there's anything you want to say, just go ahead and jump in, and we'll go from there.
So is it questions, or is it just if I have something to add?
Just if you have something to add. Really, I wanted to get both you and Arthur on here and just kind of get your guys' reactions to see how you agree to this. because we are going to do our own.
I imagine
power
that it's really nice about me. I'm sure whatever they said was super nice to me then.
Yeah.
Mr. or Miss Anonymous Pussy.
Uh-huh. All right. So week 1 power rankings, number 1, Dark Knights are ranked up there. He says, you're king of the hill until somebody knocks you off. The defending champion boasts the 3 best running backs in football, fantasy or otherwise, and looks to continue their dominance and become the first team to win consecutive League of Shadows championships. Fun fact, though, the Dark Knights sport 4 Caucasian players at skill positions, making them the whitest team in the league. What that means for fantasy, I couldn't tell you. It's just an observation. So, thoughts at number 1?
Probably not good, though.
Yeah. Do you agree? Disagree?
I mean, I don't disagree. I mean, I think you're going to win, but...
Okay, cool. I just wanted to make sure. Number 2, we have Flaming Moe's with overall QB 1 and wide receiver 1 from last year. Flaming Moe's looks to rely on their very balanced roster to take them to the fantasy football promised land. One thing possibly standing in their way is the incredible potential for injuries to their roster, with Cook, Beckham, Stafford, and Fuller having all dealt with injuries in the past few seasons, and Lamar Jackson's running habits may lead him taking some big hits and missing some time at some point. Youth may also be a factor, as they have 3 rookies on the roster, which could lead to some inconsistent weeks. It's tempting to make a he likes him young joke here, but it's probably not the time.
you got it. You should have done it, but whatever.
Well, maybe next time.
No, again, I agree with that assessment too.
Yeah.
Really. So I don't really have anything to add on that. Yeah.
Number 3, and this is the first one I think maybe a little high, but Clunge Plungers there. Gifted a team of loaded at wide receiver and 2 of the most intriguing running backs this year. Clunge Plunger is looking to take a talented roster over the hump, something its previous owner failed to do. It's fair to question the depth of this team, as its bench is filled with rookies and risky injury-prone role players, but getting Kyler Murray in the first round of the draft this year might have been the best pick outside of Clyde Edwards-Helaire, as it filled the team's only need with a player who has QB 1 overall potential. Let's see if this talented team can finally take the, wait for it, plunge into championship glory.
Wow. Minus 10 points for that ending. But otherwise,
Yeah, that's the only
no,
one.
Again, I can't really argue. There's a lot of what I said about how he drafted. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, but I mean, most of the assessment in there, they're injury prone, rookies. I'll chalk that up to he was just nervous in the first time, but solid team. I don't know if he'll finish 3rd, though.
Yeah, I could. Well, yeah, it's all matchup based and luck, but I mean, he's got a good enough team to where he could win it or he could end up in 10th. Yeah,
Sure. All right, number 4 is Sea Chicken Chokers. What a redemption story this could be. From last place to legitimate championship contender, Sea Chicken Chokers aim to ride an incredibly solid draft to a successful fantasy year. As previous years have proved, getting the 0 pick in the draft gives teams an immense boost, and Clyde Edwards-Helaire should do nothing to disprove that this year. While the depth behind him at running back may be lacking in top-end talent, there are still dependable options on his roster. This dad is looking to sun the rest of the league on his way to a league-high 3rd championship.
Again, the ending was...
That was kind of lackluster, but...
It's like you had me, but... Again, don't disagree. Again, he's one of the teams to beat. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't know how he would manage. He always does that, though. He'll have like a year where he just is dog shit. And then he'll just start grabbing players and acting like he gives a shit. And then he starts playing again. And I don't know. I don't know how he does it. So, yeah, his squad, though, it's no joke.
But, I mean, the author is right in that, I mean, Raheem Mostert, Aaron Jones, it's not exactly great behind. I mean, Ingram, you're right. That's the one I was just talking about. That's good, but
yeah, Mostert I don't have a lot of confidence in. I mean, again, just a big question mark. So,
Sure.
Yeah, he's definitely not the strongest. I mean, his main squad is strong. I mean, yeah, you got Ingram and Aaron Jones together. Yeah, that's a pretty good combo. But yeah, anything beyond that, especially because he dropped Cooks.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know why you weirdos are keeping 2 quarterbacks. It's weird. And Matt Ryan, okay. Got Russell Wilson, but sure, take up a bench spot. Do what you got to do.
Maybe he just trusts in the rest of its team.
I guess.
All
I mean,
right.
I don't trust Russell Wilson either, so I get why he wants an insurance policy.
Yeah, don't make me try to defend him right now. I don't really want to.
Come on. Just shit talking a little.
Yeah, and I would play Ryan personally, but I prefer Ryan.
He's a machine, dude.
Yeah.
He's a machine.
He is. He's like he's the same thing, and I always compare him to Tony Romo. It's the same situation in the fantasy draft. You can get him super late because nobody wants him, but he is always super accurate, and he will score fantasy points like mad for you.
Yep, it's because he's not sexy, but yeah, he's literally like a robot.
Yeah.
Like, he's going to get you at least a couple touchdowns. Like, it's just what he does.
Yeah.
I don't know how. Like, consistently.
Yeah. All right, number 5, Boomer Busters. Is there such a thing as a one-man fantasy football team? Maybe. But when that one man is Patrick Mahomes, that makes for a dangerous team. It's a little unfair to deem Boomer Busters just a one-man team, as they do have Devontae Adams, Amari Cooper, and A.J. Brown filling out their wide receiver slots, and a top 3 tight end in Mark Andrews. Bucking tradition, this team is giving the middle finger to the running back position, which could be their downfall. There's a lot.
I agree with this so far.
There is a lot of faith being put in Cam Akers having a breakout rookie campaign, but if he doesn't, get your poncho ready because this team could bust all over everything, like a Gallagher show.
Sorry, that laugh was probably really peaked, but that was a better ending. How about that? And I don't really have any arguments. Yeah.
No, I didn't.
So far, this has been pretty astute. Whoever Anonymous is.
Well, I mean, Adams.
I assume
Cooper,
it's
and Brown.
Sean. My guess is it's Sean, but we'll see.
Next up,
He's
is,
not that eloquent though, so I don't know. We'll see.
Well, some of it might be how I'm reading it. I mean, I do have a
I'm
great
sure.
voice,
Your beautiful delivery.
sultry voice. Anyways, next up, speaking of Sean, is Steel Dynasty, the perpetual quote, "How the hell did they make the playoffs?" quote team. Steel Dynasty.
game.
Yeah, will attempt to leave fellow League of Shadow owners scratching their heads until they're raw and bloody again. Ooh. Adding to the theme this year, Steel Dynasty is stacked at wide receiver with the likes of Chris Godwin, Kenny Golladay, Allen Robinson, and 2020 fantasy darling Calvin Ridley. In all honesty, there is no real weakness on this team, but there is also nothing too exciting about it either. Much like the Pittsburgh Steelers, Steel Dynasty possesses a great defense, overrated quarterbacks, and an undeserved sense of accomplishment. But good luck and stuff.
Yeah, again, I agree. I don't know. I definitely see some gaps, but I mean, the fact they picked up David Johnson, you have fun with that, my friend. I wasted enough time. We'll watch. He'll go off now. He's not sitting on my team. He'll go off. So
Yeah,
All right, you can go to the next one.
I
I got
don't
no
know
other
that
comments.
that won't happen. But I feel like there are probably some Steelers in the, in the waiver pool. He has some chance to go after. So
yeah, there's still some there, Sean. You're missing some. Get on it.
all right, number 7 is Chubbawamba. Yet another team with no outstanding weaknesses. Chubbawamba is stuck in the purgatory of mediocrity, along with half of the teams in the League of Shadows. The biggest question for this team might be: is Drew Brees still capable of being a high-end QB for fantasy? They have the pieces around Brees to make any possible fantasy shortcomings, but there are questions about volume for almost all the players aside from Nick Chubb. A potential glutton for punishment, Chubbawamba drafted Le'Veon Bell again, despite 2 consecutive years of disappointment. This is where you insert the SpongeBob. How many times do we have to teach you this lesson, old man? Meme here.
Yeah. I definitely don't agree that Chubb is the only one. I mean, I think George Kittle's going to be pretty consistent. I think Keenan Allen's going to be pretty consistent. But yeah, again, I don't disagree a whole lot with anything else.
All right, so talk to me about Nick Chubb. Hunt is obviously his backup there, and it wasn't until later in the season that he started kind of vulturing those carries. Or do you think we're going to see more of that, or is it going to go back to the Chubb show? That's gross.
It's hard to say, man, because I think, yeah, you're right. Chubb's going to get the yards. He's going to be the wrecking ball. And then, yeah, they may still be giving the goal line work. That's a tough one. It could go either way. That's true. He's not exactly. I just see him as like such a beast of a player that it's like, yeah. And again, and beast in the sense that it's just like he's hard to bring down. I feel like he's just a ball. Like I don't know. So yeah, that's a valid point.
Didn't he?
And with Le'Veon Bell, I think that I would have grabbed Le'Veon Bell if he was still available.
Really?
Or no. And I'm sorry. It was between Melvin Gordon and Le'Veon Bell. Yeah.
Oh, I gotcha. I don't know.
And I went with Melly, but yeah.
Yeah. I don't know, though, because I feel like, as I recall, Nick Chubb, didn't he have like 2 really big, like 98-yard runs in the same game? And it dramatically skewed his yards per game stats? Like, because if you have 2 runs at 98, then it's like, obviously, you could run like twice at 2 yards, and they're like, well, it's an average of 50 yards a run. It's like, well, that kind of sucks. That's not really true.
Well, that's why you can't just listen to stats, as I was saying.
Yeah. All right.
I'm just saying. Just bring it back around.
Yeah. Number 8 is a bloody puddle. Often the punching bag of the League of Shadows, a bloody puddle could be the league's most improved team. Don't be surprised if they make the jump into the playoffs. Another solid yet unspectacular team, a bloody puddle is hoping its balanced roster, buoyed by Derrick Henry, will just keep them afloat and hopefully sneak into the championship hunt. Along with Sea Chicken Chokers, a bloody puddle helped themselves the most through the draft, and it takes a great owner to draft well. Now, nobody's accusing a Bloody Puddles owner of being great. That's why they enlisted the Dark Knights owner to do their drafting. Shrewd.
Again, don't necessarily disagree. I don't know if he's quite going to be the contender this Anonymous seems to think he's going to be. But yeah, it was a good draft. I agree with that.
But
it's
I mean,
like you're drafting on top of not a lot, but yeah.
Looking back into this last
Other than
season,
Derrick Henry.
Yeah. Looking back into this last season, though, there was definitely it was a point in a game in between him actually making the playoffs versus, even your dad was right there. Had that 1 point gone through, Haley would have been knocked out of the playoffs because she would have lost, and then your dad would have been in it. And it's like, but if that's all it takes, these middling teams to just kind of bump your way in, does he have a shot?
He also won by less than half a point because of a stat correction.
He did. That's all it takes.
Won
Yeah.
9th place, but yeah.
Yeah, I think that would have been great though to have the first repeat loser like that.
It would have been. I don't think we're gonna get that this year. Hopefully next 2.
Yeah, we'll see. Wait, you're projected at 10th though. Okay. Anyways, number 9 is Solania.
No, it's only year 1, dipshit.
Last season's luckiest team is bound for regression this year. Their best player, DeAndre Hopkins, was traded during the offseason, and now will have to fight for targets with a crowded receiving core in Arizona. That, compounded with the fact that their other top players come with injury concerns or questions about their team's offensive firepower, could make for a long season for Solania. This team will need to do well with waiver wire pickups if it wants to remain relevant this season, which could very well happen, seeing as they might have first waiver priority all year. But let us not overlook the imposing Brady Gronk stack. LOL, JK, what is this, 2013?
Yeah, okay. I'm glad they brought it back around on that one. Yeah, we've already shit on Arthur. Let's face it. I think with this team, I see him as probably last place. So.
Yeah. DeAndre Hopkins just signed a 2-year extension or something like that, right?
That sounds right. I know he's going to be there a little longer.
Yeah,
but there's also a lot of other talent they brought in around him.
They do, but if I heard correctly, it's going to be a ridiculous contract, super lucrative. So I don't know that you pay somebody like that if you're not going to give them.
Oh, of course.
Give them the ball constantly, but
yeah, young QB, and pretty accurate one when he's not scrambling too much.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right, last one. Number 10.
Did I say rookie? I meant young. Sorry, not rookie, but no, young.
You said young. You're good.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Number 10, obviously, is the bear down for balls deep. Well, at least it looks like Alvin Kamara is going to play this year, so you don't have to worry about that anymore. Aside from that, it looks like a classic rebuilding year for bear down for balls deep, an unusual approach in fantasy football to say the least. To avoid the toilet bowl this year, this team has to hope for breakout seasons from young players like DeAndre Swift and Devin Singletary, or hit on a stud injury replacement running back off the waiver wire. If that doesn't happen, this owner will be on the receiving end, having to grit his teeth and bear it all season, over and over and over again. Speaking of butt rape, how about that T.Y. Hilton for Leonard Fournette trade? That was rather unfortunate. Wow, that kind of went off with a whimper there.
Yeah, a little bit. I could, again, give me something other than Devin Singletary might not be good this year. Okay, he's a flex.
Yeah, but if you're relying on everybody in your flex position, man, that's not really...
I'm not. There's literally Melvin Gordon. Otherwise, Mike Evans, a big question mark. But otherwise.
He is. And, I'm not going to...
I'm just saying it's not a compelling argument. If you want to shit on my team, go for it. But give me something real here.
How good did Hunter Henry do last year?
He finished, 6?
Was it 6th?
I don't know, top 10. But either way, he was also injured for how long?
He was. So that's injury prone. That's okay, though. What about...
No, it's not, but that's just tight ends.
Most of them were. What about John Brown? Why'd you go that route?
Well, why not? He's the only option there, really.
Yeah.
And again, as a flex, hell yeah.
Isn't
And he was like my third. That was you're really questioning me on my 15th pick.
Well, yeah, we're talking who you're going to sub in on flex here when Melvin Gordon does crap. I mean, isn't Stephon Diggs in Buffalo too?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he'll pull a lot of targets. It'll be great. And then he'll be a diva and never get the ball. So it'll be cool. Maybe a few goal lines. I have way more faith in John Brown than I do in Stephon Diggs. Hell yeah.
I don't know about that. What
on
about
a week-to-week basis?
I mean, come on, Michael Gallup. You don't think somebody like Blake Jarwin's going to steal everything from him?
Sure.
No?
All I know is Amari Cooper's on his way down. Someone's got to fill the spot.
On his way down? Explain yourself, sir.
What were his last few games here? At the beginning of the season, he started strong, and then he just tapered off like he always does. He did the same thing with Oakland. Isn't that where he came from?
Was that right when Derek Carr got hurt and like broke his leg?
No, he was pretty inconsistent before that.
But
then again, yeah, it was Derek Carr.
Play.
But
come on.
Dude, you're not going to sell me on Amari Cooper. No, he's too inconsistent. I don't like him. I think Michael Gallup will be the new wide receiver one there.
All right, fair enough. I mean, Anonymous has spoken. I'm just saying those power rankings came in pretty hot, so I'm just.
Well, I'm trying to figure out how it's funnier that we don't know who this person is.
That's just how it is, man. This is your chance to get that natural reaction and say what you have to say. Really, it sounds like you're just kind of butthurt that everybody's shitting on your team.
No, I just disagree, and you're not giving good arguments.
Okay.
Give me some good arguments.
I think they are good arguments. You just don't like them.
Okay. I think you don't like my responses, so there.
I don't like your responses because they're crap. But
very cogent argument.
I don't know, man. I just it's looking at your team. It's
We'll
just
see.
one of those
I mean,
things.
yeah, like I said, going this season, a lot of question marks.
There are.
I'm willing to take the chance. I don't think it's any more question marks than I had going into last season.
Yeah, I don't. I can't say because I don't recall your team, but I mean, just even, I don't know, man. That's a lot of faith and a lot of them that I don't know that most of us do. I mean, you have.
I know, especially everyone hates Melvin Gordon this year, and I love it. That's why I love it. I was able to get him on cheap.
You were. That's because I feel like Philip Lindsay is the one that he's. While they did pay Melvin Gordon, I also don't trust guys like Drew Lock like you do. And they're my team.
Drew Lock. We're talking about a running back.
Yeah, we are.
All he's got to do is do little outs to him. You think a college QB can't do that?
I mean, they can, but I wouldn't even trust somebody like Tom Brady to do that. But you got Leonard Fournette on your squad.
Well, that's a whole different discussion.
On, man. Like, what's the thing?
Still not an argument, but okay.
How is that? What?
What does Tom Brady have to do with any of this?
No, you're saying you're trying to compare. Okay, so a college level quarterback should be able to do those just little kind of dump off out routes to the running back, right? And you're saying that you trust somebody like Drew Lock to be able to deliver that for Melvin Gordon, but
as much as anyone, yeah.
And I'm saying but I don't know. I feel like that's the same kind of faith that you put in somebody like Tom Brady, who you're hoping that can do that for Fournette, other than the straight up ground and pound. And I just don't trust it. I'm just saying, if you're looking at all the question marks for your team, I mean, and outside the fact that you do have, what kind of bye weeks do you have on here? Are all these guys like?
See, that might be where I get
5,
screwed because I didn't pay attention to bye weeks at all.
11, a lot of 6, a lot of, yeah. No, but even outside of that, man, I mean, if Terry McLaurin is your number one dude.
I guess he's number one. I think he's going to be the most consistent, though.
I mean, if Alvin Kamara is healthy, but you should probably just trade him while you have the chance.
Which he is, and they just paid him. I doubt they'd pay him as much as his new contract.
Yeah.
If they didn't think he was healthy. Dude, he has one off year and everyone's writing him off. I'd love it. Hilarious. It's like one injury year and he's done. I love it.
How much
Saints are always better when people don't think they're going to win.
Yeah. How much of that is going to, you think, translate into future seasons? Like, I mean, obviously you said Drew Brees is on the way out. Do you really think Kamara is going to stick around? Like, how far is he going to go after the Brees train has left the station?
Well, I don't know. It all depends on contract and who they get to replace him.
Taysom Hill?
I mean, I would love to see Taysom Hill with Alvin Kamara. That'd be hilarious. They would not know how to defend that shit. That'd be awesome.
Who's the other quarterback that they have? Who's the backup? It's not Bridgewater anymore.
Yeah. We're not talking about him.
Who is it?
I'm not saying it. You know who it is.
Oh, no, I actually don't. I'm legitimately asking.
Jameis Winston.
Oh. See,
I thought you were just messing with me.
No,
you're the only person I know that hates him as much as I do.
No, but that's the thing is, like, I always, actually, no, I never defended him. He's terrible. But I would much rather, Okay. I would much rather Leonard Fournette and Mike Evans if Winston was still in Tampa Bay.
Okay, but that's not the situation. And I didn't even have that choice. Because, again, Fournette was still the main back in Jacksonville when I made this trade. So, yeah, I got to just live with that. But there are a lot worse places he could have gone. And I'm glad that it's a crowded backfield of has-beens and never was.
Yeah, fair enough.
So.
All right. Well,
I'm not feeling good about any of it. Yeah, I don't think I'll be last, but we'll see what happens.
I don't think
It's
you'll
got
be
to happen
last.
eventually.
I think it'll be Arthur and Eli battling for that loser spot, but we'll see how it pans out. We looked over the power rankings. You know the projections at this point, and you don't like those, but I'm going to ask your prediction. Who do you think is going to be outside of these people that we've been talking about in their position? What's going to be the biggest surprise? What's going to be the biggest shock? Is Deshaun finally going to get that white whale of a championship that he's been hoping for, or what happens?
Well, that was a lot of questions. For like potential breakout team
Yeah,
that someone hasn't already like discussed.
Yeah. Well, no, you can say somebody that you're thinking. I'm just thinking like let's just unravel the onion a little bit here and just kind of go a little bit deeper into these layers. Who do you think is going to be the crazy upset? Do you think there will be one, or do you think it's all going to be pretty predictable with all these?
I mean, there's always going to be a crazy upset, but I don't know if I can guess it. I mean, I guess would you call Hayden doing well a crazy upset? He's already ranked pretty high, though. So I don't know if you could really call that a crazy upset, but I think he has a lot of chance to do pretty well, like better than a lot of people I think would assume. And I, as much as I hate to say it, I think Arthur's going to beat me because he does this every year. He goes in the draft with no plan. He grabs random shit, and then they just make points because they're on his team. And he always goes in matchups where there's someone who's going to do worse somehow. So I don't know. I'll throw it at Arthur because he's always been the random upset. So I guess I'm throwing him back out. I don't know what else to do. On paper, he should lose, but I don't know.
I mentioned it to him too. He's got the no sexy names on his team, but gosh darn it, if I don't think he's going to probably steal some wins from us. But
yeah, no question.
Now,
okay, well, what about you? Is that your choice
for upset? No, I mean, in all honesty, it is one of those where I feel like if I don't win, I'm going to be pretty upset. But that's how I go into every year. So,
so you've been upset a lot.
Yeah, all the time, all the time.
I mean, not as much as me, but yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, it's a lifestyle. You get used to it. So
yeah, right. Well, I have. So yeah.
But, all right. Before we do wrap this thing up and close out for the first official one, and you will be back on here at some point, sir. Is there anything that you do want to, anybody you want to call out, any trash talk you want to throw out there, anything like that?
No. As I said in the beginning, I don't have a lot of legs to stand on to be giving a lot of shit talk. So I'll just go ahead and keep it to a minimum. I feel like I've thrown some darts at a few pieces that I didn't like, but otherwise, yeah, it's whatever. I'll leave it as is for now.
All right. Well, I am hoping that the trash talk is going to be a little more robust than a Dutch oven this year. So looking for you to claim either that or your pick'em shoe at some point. So good luck this season, sir. We'll see how it goes.
Let's see if you can get one. Let's do it.
What, the championship trophy? I already have that.
Yeah, for now. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I'm not saying it's me that's going to take it.
You're not going to take it from me? Well, then
I may steal it, but I don't know if I'll earn it.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. On that note, we're just going to go ahead and say good luck to everyone this season. And until next time, sir.
Yeah, let's hope there's a full season.
Okay.